Hi, class. Welcome to week 3. This will be a total review of lesson 3. So let's get started. So this week we will be talking about writing to compare and contrast. And the lesson for lesson 3, here it is. I have it up for you. So last week we learned about some of the foundational parts of writing, including paragraph structure and document design. This week we will continue to build on that knowledge and expand our understanding of the writing process. To advance our skills, we began to think about a new type of argument, compare and contrast. In considering this argument structure, we will also work to sharpen our analysis and explore methods for organizing arguments. So our goal for this week are understand the goals of compare and contrast writing techniques, practice strategies for organizing introductions and conclusions, develop language skills to relay complex observations and analysis. So your skill spotlights for this week are critical thinking, and then we have information literacy, communication, global awareness, and technology literacy. So your theory and your practice is all about the rhetorical message. So we are talking about the rhetorical star. Let me just bring it up so you can see it. This star is in your textbook. I know you have seen it because it is on the first page of the textbook where everyone can see. So rhetoric refers to the art of communication through writing or speaking. To make a message easier for the audience to understand and act upon, it is important to have a firm grasp of the rhetorical context or situation in which the message exists. So the rhetorical star provides a powerful tool for thinking through the rhetorical context and can be very valuable in helping writers to create messages that are reader friendly. So we have this 5-point star right here, and the 5 points represented in the star are the subject, the audience, the purpose, strategy, and design. So the subject is the topic of the message. And for example, in the workplace, the subject of the email given on the subject line. So college students are usually assigned a subject to write about, or maybe given a limited number of choices. As with this assignment, you are given a amount of choices, and make sure you stay within those choices, or consult with me if you decide not to use the assignments that are given. So your audience, for written messages, audience consists of all of the potential readers of that message, not just your instructor. Some students think that the instructor is the audience. The instructor is the audience, but let's look at it in a broader sense where we consider classmates, co-workers, family members, or other members of the community as possible audience members, and keep them on the top of your mind during the writing process. So don't just focus on the instructor, and focus on the entire community of readers. So your purpose, effective communication is purpose driven. There are 5 main purposes to writing, and 1 is to inform, 2 is to persuade, 3 is to interpret, 4 is to entertain, and 5 is to express feelings. So many messages combine elements of more than one of these purposes, but the most effective messages have one clear central purpose. So keep that in mind. We may use a combination of these effective communication purposes in writing, They may blend, but it's always going to be one clear purpose. So strategies. Strategies refer to the approach or mode of development in which a message is created. In this case, a description, comparison, and contrast, along with cause and effect, are the three strategies that will be used for essay assignments in this class. Of course, there are other strategies that include classification, process analysis, and problem solving. So, but for this class, we're only focusing on three. So three different strategies. One we did already, that was your descriptive essay. And two, we're working on now, the compare and contrast. And the final essay will be a cause and effect. So let's go down to design. Design covers the type of message, such as an essay, a slide presentation, a podcast, or a blog post. In addition, design refers to the appropriate format for the message. In this class, for instance, essays must always be submitted in the current edition of APA format. And we went over that last week, and I showed you guys where to find the form and how to follow it. So finally, design also includes visual aids such as charts, graphs, maps, or photographs. In selecting a topic and beginning to write the compare and contrast essay this week, be sure to keep these 5 points of the rhetorical star in mind. Now, for audience awareness, we have a video that we would like for you to watch, and it's a TED Talk video, Comedy in Translation. Keep these questions in mind when you're watching the video and see how they are related to the video. So, argument structure. When you see a picture, when you hear the word argument, what image usually comes to your mind? Most of the time, many people think of this picture right here of people face to face shouting at each other. However, when it comes to written communication, argument consists of a reason of set or reasons provided to persuade others that a certain action or idea is right or wrong. Arguments consist of 4 components. So you have your claim, your counterclaim, your reasons, and your evidence. A claim is a main point that you believe to be true. Counterclaims, all arguments are debatable and have at least 2 sides. A counterclaim presents an opposing point of view. Reasons, every argument needs to answer a simple question: why? The answer is usually phrased with a sentence containing because. Evidence, an effective argument must present proof in the form of facts, statistics, or expert opinion. So this assignment will help you figure out some different types of claim that you may want to use. So play the little game, the hide and show game, whereas you type in what your claim, what you think your claim may be, and then you reveal your answer afterwards. So go ahead and play with that a little bit and see what you come up with. And let's continue to talk about your introductions and your conclusions, which students usually have a problem with. The students usually have a problem with introductions because they really may not know how to get started. And if you're having difficulties with coming up with how to get started, then it can be a real struggle. So introductions can be tricky to write. Writers struggle with introductions because they haven't figured out what to write about yet, or even if they had decided upon a topic, they don't have a clear point of view. So here's some advice to help you get started. So first of all, you want to think, claim, and counterclaim. If you aren't sure about your point of view, try imagining the different side of the argument. For example, let's go back to the e-sport versus real sport topic. You may not have a strong opinion initially, but you can easily imagine that fans of traditional sports do not hold esports in high esteem, and fans of esports probably think of traditional sports fans as old fashioned. So, considering the relative merits of these claims, you can help yourself reach to a conclusion by using reasons to forecast. So at the end of your introductory paragraph, you'll write your thesis statement. A great way to help make the organizational structure of your essay clear to your audience is to combine your thesis statement with a forecast. A an overview of the main points your essay will cover. That's exactly what a forecast is. It is the overview of the main points your essay will cover. So here's an example of a thesis with a forecast. It may say something in this line. Esports athletes are just as worthy of our esteem as traditional athletes because they work equally hard. They are equally skillful at what they do, and their fans are just as devoted. Now, this sentence serves to set up the body of the essay. We can see that the body of the essay will have three main points just by what was said in the sentence above. So we'll just pull those points out. Esports athletes work hard. Esports athletes are skillful, and esports athletes have devoted fans. So, although introductions can certainly be challenging, conclusions pose their own set of problems. One of the biggest difficulties writers can face with conclusions is to avoid sounding repetitive. And you have to resist that um, challenge to just go ahead and repeat something that you have said above. So resist that temptation to come back and just cut and paste your introduction to your conclusion. So this can be difficult to achieve because most teachers of writing warn against introducing new ideas at the same time. So just try some of these things. Include an elegant reworded version of your thesis statement. For example, esports athletes are just as worthy of our self-esteem as traditional athletes. Now, you might want to go back and reword that to say it is time that esports athletes receive the same respect given to traditional athletes. Now, says the same thing, but it concludes with a forward-looking statement. With the growing population of esports, it is quite possible that the near future esports athletes will become just as famous as traditional athletes. Now, you just play around with the language. The first thing that you write is not going to be your final writing. That will be a draft. You want to come back and make sure that you have organized your work in a way where it is really, really colorful language and vibrant language, and you're using the best language that you can when you are explaining in your introduction. Your conclusion that follows is along the same lines as your introduction, but it's a little bit beefier because you're given just a little bit more. You want to leave people wanting more when they read your papers. You want, when they get to the bottom, you don't want it to fall flat. You want to leave them with wanting more. So with that said, let's continue. And we want to work on compare and contrast, analytical and organizational concepts. So I had some information that I wanted to introduce to you before we got into this little situation, because some people may be wondering, what is comparison and contrast? So whenever you decide between two alternatives, you engage in comparison and contrast. You make a decision by comparing alternatives on a series of relevant points and then deciding which has the greatest advantage. Subjects are set in opposition in order to reveal their similarities and differences. Comparison involves finding similarities among two or more things, people, or ideas. Contrast involves finding differences. Comparison and contrast could involve three activities: emphasizing similarities, emphasizing differences, or emphasizing both. Two or more subjects share, but not all things. So compare and contrast is done to achieve a particular purpose. How do you choose a subject? Well, the subject is very crucial. Most of the time you have a limit of number of paragraph that you must decide on how many words to use. So once you make that decision, it is best to limit your paragraphs or essays to subjects that have obvious similarities and differences. Two other cautions are also important. Be sure you have a reason for making a comparison and contrast, and that it will reveal something new or important to give your comparison and contrast an interesting thesis. It doesn't make any sense to compare and contrast something without telling the reason why or making it interesting. Limit your comparison and contrast to important points. Do not try to cover everything. You have to leave something out because you cannot cover everything in a 3 to 4 page essay. Do you always find both similarities and differences? You can compare and contrast only if there is some basic similarities between the two subjects. There is no point in comparing two totally unrelated subjects. Remember, some similarities will be obvious and hence not worth writing about. Once you have chosen your subject, make a list of possible points to compare and contrast. When you create analogies, similes, or metaphors, do not try to be overly clever on your point will lose focus. You want to use it sparingly. How do you structure a comparison and contrast essay? There are three organizational models of comparison and contrast. One is subject by subject, and the other one is point by point or a mixed sequence of both. So for subject by subject, you will have your work in paragraph units. If you have a comparison paper and it's fairly short, you could treat all of subject A in a paragraph or group of paragraphs, and then all of subject B in a paragraph or group of paragraph. For point by point or alternating paragraphs, you will emphasize the individual points of comparison and contrast rather than the subject as a whole. If you use the alternating pattern, you must decide how to order your points. For instance, by beginning or by ending with the strongest or most significant point. So when you have a mixed pattern, Writers typically mix subject by subject and point by point patterns. Such an arrangement provides variety and can make the points of the comparison and contrast much more vivid for the readers. So this just gives you a little bit of information on comparison and contrast aside from what you have in your lesson. So I want to pick back up on your lesson. So your lesson tells you compare and contrast essays generally fall in two categories, informative and persuasive. For example, let's say that you have chosen the topic working from home versus working from the office. Your goal in writing this essay could be primarily informative, primarily persuasive, or a combination of the two. If your purpose is to inform, your goal in writing this essay would be mainly to show the similarities and differences between working from home and working from the office to help increase the reader's understanding. Alternatively, if your purpose is persuasive, your goal is to convince your reader that working from home is better than working from the office or vice versa. Whether your purpose is informative or persuasive, the organizational structure of your essay will follow either the block pattern or the point by point. If we are using the work from home versus work from the office topic, we must start by brainstorming about some of the key points of similarities and differences and come up with a list including the following. So we have cost to the employer, productivity, work-life balance, social interactions, innovation, upward mobility, employee retention. So from this list of 7, we might select the most significant and interesting points and narrow the list down to cost, innovation, and employee retention. Now we have something to work with. Now we have a simple outline, and we can go ahead and make your informative thesis, which could be something like this. There are a number of similarities and differences between working from home and working from the office, including cost, innovation, and retention. And then you just go ahead and you form your outline accordingly. Now, if you want to try the similar subject and point by point, then for point by point, your thesis may be more persuasive, where you're trying to convince someone that working from home is better for employees, employers, and employees because it costs less, leads to greater innovation, and results in higher employee retention. And then you want to go ahead and say why. So cost, you break that down. What's the cost from home and from the office and so forth and so on. So generally speaking, most students prefer to use the block format because they find it simpler to discuss one item at a time. Now this is this one up here. So we're going to have this subject. We're going to talk about from home, tell everything we know about from home, and then we'll tell about working from the office here. So most students find this pattern simple and easier to discuss. However, the point by point format may be more complex. It can also be very helpful in highlighting key points of similarities and differences. Ultimately, you should choose the format you are most comfortable with. So whichever one makes you work better and you have a better understanding of how to organize your work, then that's the format that you choose. If you want to talk about all one subject first and then talk about the next subject next, that's fine. Or if you want to talk about part of one subject and then part of the next subject, and then you drop down and continue that pattern, that's fine too. So whichever way works best for you, that's okay. Now here we have a little assignment from the writing lab, and it helps you work with clarity. So go ahead and read this little information and make sure that all your T's are crossed and all your I's are dotted. That's basically what it's telling you. It's telling you if you're using a plural form, to make sure that you use a plural verb. Make your subject and your verb agree. So read this little writing line experience, and then you can go ahead and do the little hide and show exercise and view the answer to see if you have answered it correctly or what have you. So these are some little exercises for you to do. So now we want to connect the assignment. So for week 2, you will work on developing your compare and contrast essay. During the beginning of this week, you should be doing the following: reading the assignment pages. So this week we are working on chapter 3 and chapter 8. So consider the sample topics. We list a great deal of topics for you to work with, and then select a topic for your essay. Now, selecting the topic can be a daunting task. So after reviewing the suggested topics for this assignment, make a short list of topics that you find interesting or already have some background or ideas about. Having personal knowledge with the topic could lend more for you to develop your thesis and your begin the writing process, because you are familiar with it and your thoughts will start to flow. So on the other hand, sometimes learning about something new is just as exciting, and it will motivate you for your research. So help explore potential topics by using these following questions as a guide for your pre-writing process. What are 5 questions you have about the topic? Why is the topic important? What does some exploratory research tell you about the topic? What is your preliminary argument? And then you expand these and it gives you more information. So just go ahead and work on that little exercise. It will help you very much. So exploratory research. Now you have decided on your topic. You need to begin more detailed research. The most difficult part of the research process is getting started. Like with the writing process, there are ways you can prepare to engage in research that will help narrow your focus and save time and energy. Before you begin to explore databases, make a plan. First, use your topic brainstorm to help identify keywords. What are keywords? Keywords are 1 to 2 word phrases that you can enter in a search field in databases. This will help you focus your ideas and help you find a wide range of materials that may fit your needs. Prepare a list of 3 to 5 keywords and phrases to help begin your process. Consider the toaster example from the assignment page. If you were writing your essay on toasters, you may include in your keyword lists companies and brand names, consumer reports on toasters, and toaster costs. Second, use your keywords and phrases list to explore multiple information sources. Use your search terms in the Devry online library, Google Scholar, Google Books, or the database of your local public library. By considering what specific databases you will explore before your search, you will limit the rush of millions and millions of research articles that come up. So, and most of them are not even helpful. So you want to make sure that you limit your search. Third, review your progress. What did you find in your exploratory research? What information is plentiful? What information would you need to continue to search for? How can you use what you have learned to further shape your ideas about your topic and your argument? Make adjustments and assess your resources before you dive into the drafting process. So you want to make sure that you have good credible sources before you try to start drafting. You don't want to have like little paragraph sources. You want to have sources that are good and solid that you can get good information from. And don't forget your outlining. You want to use your outline to go ahead and exhibit your points. So this is just an example, a simple outline where you have your topic and then you have your compare and contrast, your first point that you're going to make and how you're going to bring these points to life, your sub points, and then you have your compare and contrast second point that you're going to make, and then your sub points, and then you're going to summarize and make your recommendations. And don't forget your references. And don't forget to cite your references in APA format, which this is not, because you have to have a hanging indent for your sources for APA, but always make sure you're using your updated information that you need. So the next slide is going to be your discussion. And your discussion is where we come and we talk about the topic. So this gives you a little information about what to do when you're working on your compare and contrast essay, which will be completed in week 4, but in week 3, we're starting to talk about it and share ideas about it. So we want to know, what is the tentative title of your essay? What are you comparing and contrasting? Is the preliminary purpose of your essay evaluative or informative? What do you want your readers to know? Are you planning to use a block pattern or point by point pattern? Block pattern is a subject by subject, by the way. When I was explaining it to you, they both have the same meanings. So explain the reasoning behind your choice. What criterias will you be using? So name at least 3. Now, after making your initial 100-word points and responding to these questions above, provide detailed and helpful feedback to at least 2 of your fellow classmates in 100 words or more. For example, you may wish to suggest additional criteria or share your knowledge on the topic. So scroll through the post and find students who have not yet replied to and reply to them, because everyone wants a chance. And most people reply to the first people who are on top. So make sure that you are going and finding people who have not been replied to. And I gave you guys a list of some of the topics that you can use. And we're reflecting on chapter 8, comparing and contrasting computers and technology. So keep that in mind when you are writing your paper and trying to get your ideas. Don't stray off the topic. Make sure that you stay on topic. So here are some ideas for topics that you can use. And you can consider these, or if you don't like any of these topics, then email me and talk to me and let me know what topic you want to use before you start writing on it. But please be sure to avoid simple topics like Apple versus Samsung, or Android versus iOS, or Xbox versus PlayStation, or what have you. So you want to make sure you avoid simple overused topics. All right, so now we're coming to some assignments that you have from the publishers. And this is week 3, chapter 3, writing sentences, paragraphs, and essays. Make sure you complete all of the assignments that we have from the publishers. I think we have 3, that's one. And then this is another one from chapter 8, comparing and contrasting computers and technology. So make sure you go in there and complete that assignment. And then we have another one, week 3, editing grammar. So like I said, just go ahead and make sure that you complete all of the assignments. And then the final thing for this week is giving you an overview of what's your essay will entail that's due in week 4. So this is explaining to you all of the criteria for your essay for week 4. And it comes and gives you your scoring rubric. So make sure you follow all of these instructions and the format so that we will be able to award you all of the points that you desire. So I think that just about ends that for this week. Yes, the last thing will be the post survey. Now, students, I want to apologize to you. Let me come back to you so you can see me and I can talk to you. So I want to apologize to you because last week I used a method when I was emailing you about your assignments, and I want to simply show you that the method was not intentional. What happened. So I want to go out of here and go to another class because I don't want to go to a class that's active. So let me just go to another course right quick to show this to you. Any of these. Let me just pick one of these previous courses. So this is the tool that I use. We go right into grading. And when we go into grading, we come right here and it is a feature that, let me get some with some zeros. So there is a feature that says message all students who. So this is what I did. And then I said, message all students who haven't submitted yet. And they will give me a list of the students who have not submitted yet. And then I just type you a nice little message until you try to submit timely or what have you. So in your class, what happened is it selected, I think, all students because I had so many students who were, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now. I don't think I need anything else. But I had so many students who were writing me saying, I did it, I did it, I did my work. Can you explain to me what I did wrong? You did absolutely nothing wrong. It was a glitch in the program, and I cannot apologize enough for it. I put myself in your place, and I understand if a teacher was telling me that I didn't do something and I knew that I do something, my feathers would be a little rougher, and I know yours were too. So please accept my apologies. It was not my mistake, and I will not use that feature again since I know it is flawed. I use it quite often, but if it's going to give me false results like that, and I have to have my students feeling a little upset about something, that is not in my nature. I am here to help you, and I can't stress that enough. So, if there's something that you don't understand, or if you need help with anything, please let me know, and I am here to help you. I know we've been battling a lot of things, storms, hurricanes, and what have you. So please get your work in as soon as possible because this course will be over before you know it, and I can't hold grades over. So we want to stay timely as much as possible and get your work in as much as possible, as quick as possible. I do not accept late assignments, but for extenuating circumstances, I am willing to give you partial credit. But please contact me, let me know ahead of time so that I will be able to address your needs. So, with that being said, you guys take care. Have a great day. Bye.